incredibly beautiful place when you can see clearly.
When you stand up from the chair after your procedure at Clearsight,
You'll see a world full of beauty that you never knew was there.
I'm Dr. Anna.
And I'm Dr. Luke.
You'll find us at clearsight.com.
Clearsight.com.
KQOP Enid, Oklahoma City. Freedom is our name. The new voice of Oklahoma. We're Talk Radio. Freedom 96.9.
Minutes. This is freaking ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't get it. Two clocks in this place, neither one of them are right. That was not even running. It's right twice a day. We're 3 minutes out. Yeah, and what's wild is when my mic goes on, my headphone cuts out. So wild. I mean, I have it now. Okay. So your mic is off. It's in program 2, right? Yeah. It's wild. I can't hear myself. Yeah, don't worry about it now. We're less than 2.
Will there be a Trump bump with the economy? Hear the latest news and trending information that impacts your world on the new Freedom 96.9 and freedom969.com, Oklahoma's talk radio. Freedom
Weather.
Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. This afternoon, partly sunny, pleasant, high of 73. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 52. Tomorrow, pleasant, sunny, high of 79. Monday, pleasant, sunny, high of 78. Tuesday, breezy, sunny, high of 85. Wednesday, sunny, very warm, approaching the 1952 record of 92, high of 91. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We interrupt our program with a special bulletin.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station.
Broadcasting live from the command center of 96.9 Freedom 96.9 in Oklahoma City. It's McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma, saving lives, protecting property, fortifying Oklahoma one roof at a time. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with HAAG-certified Master Level Damage Inspector, Oklahoma licensed public adjuster, fortified evaluator, and IBHS fortified roofing contractor, Scott McCollum.
Good morning.
Also here, HAAG-certified roofing inspector, Scotty McCollum.
Good morning, Rick.
Retro Radio Randy is running the show today, and as always, we won't let him talk on the air, but you can talk to him when you call 405-608-4377. We're live streaming today on the Fortified Oklahoma YouTube channel, waving at you right there. Also, you can hear us on freedom969.com. We'll start, as usual, with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week, which this week is a phrase. That number again to answer the trivia question or to just ask a question, 405-608-4377. Later, we'll hear Scotty's view from the rooftop, and we'll have some before, during, and after the storm tips brought to you by RoofRx, and we'll wrap up with Dad's wisdom. Coming back from breaks, some genuinely obscure historical trivia. Hey, guys, my wife received a Mother's Day gift from our daughter yesterday, shipped via FedEx, okay? That's important because when my wife opened the box, there was a note from your lawyer, Scott, telling me to say that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing. It's getting creepy.
So I guess FedEx sold him y'all's information.
The fix is in someplace. I mean, he has his tentacles everywhere. Okay, so let's get started. And folks, again, this is a live show, live on Saturday morning on Freedom 96.9.
Some Saturdays more live than others.
So do feel free to call 405-608-4377 because we have a trivia question. And Scotty, let's get going with the trivia question.
All right. Well, the first two steps of building a fortified high wind and hail designated roof are to nail it down and seal it up. If you only nailed it down and sealed it up, however, what percentage of potential storm damage could you eliminate from this equation? A, 70 to 80%, B, 50 to 60%, C, 30 to 40%, or D, 10 to 20%.
And this is not one of those where we have an all of the above.
No, we don't.
Some weeks we do, but this week we don't.
There's a right answer in here.
So if you think you know the answer to this question, give us a call, 405-608-4377. The winner will get either a ticket, two tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater play the rest of this season, 2 shows left. One opens in a couple weeks, or a $25 Lowe's gift certificate. So the first 2 steps of building a fortified high wind and hail designated roof are nail it down and seal it up. So if you only did that, what percentage of potential storm-related damage could you eliminate? Is it A, 70 to 80%, B, 50 to 60%, C, 30 to 40%, or D, 10 to 20%.
There you go.
405-608-4377.
That's a
Okay.
very interesting question. There must be, since there's a right answer. I'm sure Scott will tell us why.
There is a right
answer.
answer, guys.
All
This
right.
is very scientific here.
So, Scott, what is our phrase of the week?
Okay, so we're talking fortified. We're talking all the protection that provides. The phrase of the week is lock it in. So we've already talked in our trivia question about nail it down, seal it up. The third step would be lock it in.
Okay.
So last week, our word of the week was uplift resistance. And we were talking specifically about wind uplift on roofs. We were talking about how the wind hits the leading edge, the eaves, the corners, and lock it in is how fortified makes sure that that first initial point of contact or that force from that wind will not begin getting underneath and lifting up everything that is on top of your roof deck. Okay, so lock it in is critical to fortified, and there is a prescriptive method in which we have to do that. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna explain. We're gonna explain it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Please do. So, lock it in is the third step in building a fortified high wind and hail.
So in the trivia question, we're not even getting to that. In the trivia question, we're going nail it down, which is the first step.
Yeah.
Seal it up, which
Yeah.
is the second step. We're not even getting to lock it in.
Right.
We want to know if you just nail it down and seal it up, you have eliminated a significant part of the damage. What is that percentage?
Okay.
Okay.
So is it 70 to 80%, 50 to 60%, 30 to 40%, or 10 to 20%?
There you go.
If you just nail it down and seal it up.
Yeah, you didn't put any shingles on it. You didn't put any underlayment on it. You didn't finish it. You just nailed it down and sealed it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Whew. Okay.
Intriguing.
Intriguing.
So, speaking of all of this fortified wind and hail designation, high wind and hail designation, what does this add to the cost of a roof?
Well, obviously, every roof is different. Some roofs, to get to the fortified standard, have to be redecked. All right. So, obviously, if you're having to redeck, then that's going to be a more expensive proposition than if your decking is already OSB or plywood in good shape and you can start by just properly attaching it. So that's a different part of it. So if you are talking about a roof that does not have to be redecked, let's start there. You've already got plywood or OSB on the roof that's in good condition, meets the proper thickness, all that kind of thing.
And theoretically, wouldn't this be a roof that's been re-roofed, say, in the last 10, 15 years? I mean, since those building codes have been in place, if the roofer did the job correctly?
There's the caveat. There are roofs that have been redecked that are going to have to be redecked again.
Right.
So let's not talk about that. Let's keep this simple. So
let's do a small if instead of a big if.
So you're not needing a redeck. You already have a deck. Let's make that assumption. So from there, we're talking about the nailing it down. Okay, what's required with that? We're talking about sealing it up. So that's where we take. There's several methods. You can install ice and water on the entire roof surface. You can apply a double layer of synthetic underlayment, or you can use one of the approved tape products like the zip tape or something like that. Tape all the joints and all the connection points on that decking. So tape it up, and then the third part would be what is it? Lock it in. I'm sorry. Okay, would be lock it in. So there's a cost to that. And then the fourth part would be getting the proper shingle on there, which is the Class 4 Flex Technology shingle approved by IBHS. So when you take the nailing, the taping, the locking it in, and the shingles, I believe that you're adding about $125 per square to a roof. So if you take an average roof being 40 squares, you're adding about $5,000, $5,500 to the cost of that roof. Now, we have the Strengthen Oklahoma Homes Grant Program, right?
Yes.
Okay, which is paying up to $10,000 to fortify a roof. Now let's go back. We take that exact same thing, and now we have to redeck that house. And say that redecking was probably $4,000 or $5,000. Now you're up there around that $10,000 grant number.
So this grant could theoretically cover virtually all of the cost to fortify.
I will tell you that all of the homes that I have seen so far as an evaluator or as a contractor bidder, the $10,000 will cover the fortifications. In
Nice.
other words, the homeowners are not having to come out of pocket for the fortifications. Now, if you're doing this in the context of an insurance claim, they're still responsible for their deductible. They're still responsible for anything that the insurance company is not paying for what they already have. And then the grant will take care of the fortification part of it. And then a consumer expects to have to pay the evaluator between $700 and $1,000 for doing the evaluation. That's the out-of-pocket part to a consumer.
So in the minute we have left before we have to go to break, why isn't this stuff common knowledge?
Well, because it's new. And because it is, these are best practices. These are way beyond building codes. These are way beyond even systems roofs. And there are things that most people have not been exposed to. There are things that there are, attitudes in the roofing and restoration space where contractors have not educated consumers about these better ways of doing things. Contractors, for the most part, 95 out of 100 certainly don't have any concept of selling value and offering the protection and all that is brought to the consumers by these kinds of systems. They know how to sell price. So everything that they add in that is over and above what the people already have or what they think anyone else is presenting to them, in their mind, that makes them less competitive and they're probably not going to get the job. That is totally opposed to the way that Mr. McCollum here goes to market, trying to educate people about the universe, the best that building science and technology has brought to them, and what they need to do to protect their lives and protect their property.
And with that, we'll take our first break. We'll be back in a flash. You're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. We're taking your call, 405-608-4377. We will be back soon.
This is Chris Quinera, CEO of Blue Falcon Aerial. We're proud to partner with McRoof to enhance the Roof RX program. McRoof already provides exceptional roofing services with a proven system built on expertise and customer trust. At Blue Falcon Aerial, we're here to add an extra layer of precision and quality by delivering state-of-the-art drone documentation. With years of experience in surveying industry and as drone instructors at Francis Tuttle, we know the importance of accuracy and precision. In addition to high-quality drone imagery, our partnership provides unbiased RoofHawk artificial intelligence reports modeled on thousands of images and perfected over years of development, ensuring the most reliable data for McRoof's certified inspections. The Roof RX program makes it simple to inspect, repair, and maintain your roof with multiple membership plans designed to meet your needs. We're taking an already phenomenal service to the next level. Call McRoof today and ask about Roof RX, where technology, precision, and expertise work together to protect your home.
My title is Chief Solutions Officer, what most roofers would call the sales team. Those are solutions people.
I'd love to take as much time as I need, and if I need to stay any later, I will do so just to make sure that homeowner understands their situation, what's going on their rooftop, and what I believe the best course of action will be.
Solutions to us is a much more comprehensive and more robust way of approaching helping customers reach their needs.
I wanted to get into this sales career by helping people, not by selling things.
I take a lot of pride with being able to help clients build a relationship with them and put something as important as a roof over their head.
Building trust, building value in that relationship for our consumer, because we know at the end of the day, if that's what we do, everything else will take care of itself.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for the next segment. We'll get to Scotty's view from the rooftop, called this week's title, Darn Roofer. But on this date, in 1502, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain on his fourth and final trip to the New World. A couple of hundred years later, in 1768, on this date, John Hancock, remember him? Biggest signature on the Declaration of Independence? Well, on this date, John Hancock paid the duty on 25 pipes of wine. Now, I don't know what that is, but the British officials thought that was only about 1/4 of his ship's carrying capacity. So John Hancock brought this wine over from England to the New World. He only paid the duty on about 1/4 of the capacity of his ship, and the British officials accused him of unloading the rest of it during the night to avoid paying those duties on the entire.
Interesting.
There's nothing
Somewhat
new.
of a conspiracy.
Nothing new.
Okay. Cheating the government.
Yeah, go figure. Before there was a government. All right, Scott, I saw on, I believe it was LinkedIn,
Yes, sir.
you had commented on a post from Avery Smith, the Orca executive director, about the bill passage this week.
Oh, wow. Yes, sir. And we are so happy. We're excited. There's lots of stuff that is going to trickle out of that is really going to serve the consumers of Oklahoma. So Orca had proposed legislation to create a residential roofer test. All right. We have a commercial roofer test and a special hoops to jump through to become a commercial roofing contractor with an endorsement in Oklahoma. Now we have a baseline for entry into residential construction, residential roofing.
So just to kind of paint this whole picture, the Construction Industries Board is who roofers register with, and that's
Correct.
your 0000002 number.
Yeah.
And all you have to do to be a residential roofer is basically fill out the paperwork?
What it had been in the past was that you had to, fill out the paperwork. There are some, affirmative statements and things in that. They do a criminal background check. They check with Oklahoma Tax. They check with the Secretary of State. You provide certificates of insurance naming the Construction Industries Board on your general liability and workers' compensation insurance, things like that.
But that's just bureaucratic stuff.
Essentially, that is all that was required to be a residential roofing contractor.
And to be a commercial, to get the commercial endorsement like you have, you had to pass a test.
To get the commercial endorsement, you had to have a responsible party, a designated individual. In this case, in our company, that was me. I had to sit for an examination and pass that examination. We have to have double, as a commercial contractor, we have to have double the amount of insurance that a residential contractor was required to have. And we had to document all of that. And then once that was all done, we got our orange card, you hear me talk about that says with commercial endorsement. All right. So, and then there's a continuing education requirement there. So basically what this act does, what will become law in November, we hope.
This is assuming the governor
signs it, correct. This will basically track exactly with the commercial for the residential side of things. It does a couple other things. It puts a waiting period in there where once a residential contractor has gone in and submitted all of his paperwork, everything has been completed, and he has passed his test, there is a period of 30 days before his registration can be issued. So what it does is take spring storm season, and we have a massive storm where every roofer in the country flies into Oklahoma, and they're out on the streets, beating the streets, and they're doing what they can do, grabbing the low-hanging fruit and all those kinds of things. They are not going to be able to do that legally anymore. Legally. But now we will have law on the books that will give enforcement, and it'll be something that people can really push back on. So,
good.
And so now the education begins, letting everyone understand what this new law requires in the insurance and the restoration space, the roofing space, educating consumers about what this new law requires so that they know that these are the people that legitimately they should be talking to when there is a storm or an event. And then there's a whole other range of education that now has to take place because we have to prepare people to take their examination. All right? And then we have large cities in the state looking at roofing permitting. Those inspectors have to be trained. They have to know, they've never inspected roofs before.
Right.
They have to know what they're looking for. So this opens up a whole lot of things that are all very, very, very positive for the consumers of the state of Oklahoma. And I'm very proud to be a part of ORCA. And I thank Avery and our government people for pushing this through, the sponsors of the bill and everybody that fought really, really hard to get this done.
Well, let's just hope the governor signs it.
I think he will.
Scotty, hang on there. Time now for Scotty's View from the Rooftop. This week's episode titled That Darn Roofer.
Or, yeah.
Just darn roofer.
That darn roofer is what I thought when when I said that initially. I thought of Elmer Fudd saying, that darn wabbit. But I've heard a lot of that this week. You know, after the rains, people always, when there's water somewhere that it's not supposed to be, that's typically what they say first. Yeah. I'll give two examples, one on residential and one on commercial, because I saw a lot of leaks this week, and some of them were ours, many more of them were not. And on residential, one of the biggest things that I saw this week is chimneys where the mortar had begun to disintegrate because it's absorbed so much water. I mean, that's just a lack of maintenance right there.
Okay.
The crown's starting to really crack severely, and they're opening up big gaps in that crown for potential moisture intrusion. Also, in the mortar joints on the sides of a brick or a stone chimney, there are lots of opportunities for water to get in if the mortar is not maintained, repointed from time to time. Every few years, everybody should have a mason go up on the roof. That hardly ever happens, of course.
Right. Like never.
To check. Well, until there's a leak, and then they call the roofer. I also saw on a brick chimney, several brick chimneys actually, where the brick had spalled so severely, which is where, as my dad says, this can happen in a freeze when water gets into those very small pinholes in the mortar joints and then freezes. And if that happens multiple times over a decade or over a prolonged period of time, the water can't get out as quickly enough as it needs to, and it actually, as it expands, it cracks off the face of the brick. And then on commercial, an AC unit leaked where we did a couple $100 repair 2 years ago. Our detail, it looks very nice still. Good. However, there's some sheet metal work that's been done on the AC shroud, the enclosure for that AC unit on the rooftop, one of 3. Sheet metal work was very, very poorly done. If it was an HVAC guy, they need to fire him. If it was a handyman, they need to let him not get up on the roof again, because there were too many opportunities for water to get into that.
Okay, so that is our view from the roof this week. McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma will be back after the news.
Make the new Freedom 96.9 your first choice for the latest news and trending stories on America's comeback. We're the new Freedom 96.9 and Freedom969.com, Oklahoma's talk radio. Freedom
Weather.
Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. This afternoon, partly sunny, pleasant, high of 73. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 52. Tomorrow, pleasant, sunny, high of 79. Monday, pleasant, sunny, high of 78. Tuesday, breezy, sunny, high of 85. Wednesday, sunny, very warm, approaching the 1952 record of 92, high of 91. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We interrupt our program with a special bulletin.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for the second half of our live talk call-in show this morning. Our number 405-608-4377. On this date in 1865, President Andrew Johnson issued a proclamation declaring that the armed resistance in the South was virtually at an end, commonly accepted as the end date of the American Civil War, or as they say in South Carolina, the War of Northern Aggression. On this date in 1960, the United States became the first country